Good Monday morning, everyone. I'm WSAZ's Kimberly Keggy. We certainly appreciate you joining us here on the WSAZ Now Desk. What a fantastic start to the week. I hope you enjoyed your weekend. If you were working over the weekend, I feel for you. I hear you. A lot of us, though, making the most of it, spending time outside. I know at my house, we did a lot of home projects. We got into a couple of those. So it was certainly nice to just sit out in that sunshine and really take it in. It's really been a fantastic weekend overall, and it seems like that weather is going to continue through the rest of the week. You may have heard Dylan's mention this morning. He said Monday, definitely calling it a go day. But as far as the rest of the week, we will see still pretty warm temperatures for this time of year, but we do dip down into a cooler spot on Thursday and Friday. So we will have to, get a little acclimated again. It'll be a little bit tricky after we've had such a sweet treat over the last couple of weeks for those warmer temperatures. It's certainly been nice. Let's go ahead and talk about some of the headlines that we are following this morning. And we have some new stories to talk about today. I want to get to one that we just got into our newsroom. It was talking about a victim who was found in an alley behind an apartment with a gunshot. And now there's been 2 people arrested in connection with that incident. We're going to get to that in just a minute. But first, let's go ahead and pull up some video so that we can talk about this one, because the reason why I say that is this happened yesterday, but it is so interesting because we don't see this all the time. So there was actually a fire at the John Amos power plant up in Putnam County. Winfield Fire Department telling us they got the call about a fire on the power plant's proximity, the grounds there, around 5 Sunday morning. Well, the department says, you can see this is video that we got from several departments which had to respond because of just the magnitude of the situation. Obviously, when there's a fire at a power plant, that's pretty serious, and you can tell several homes close by to it. So here's what we know. Appalachian Powers John Amos power plant in Winfield. There was a fire there on Sunday, March 8th. That was yesterday. The company tells us there was no immediate threat to the public, that all plant personnel were safe, no injuries were reported. And the company actually telling us, Appalachian Power, saying there was no impact to operations or our ability to generate power for customers. So they told us that in a statement on Sunday. But here's what we know right now. So as far as what happens next, there will be a full-scale investigation. You can tell that this was the magnitude of that situation. This is actually Ring doorbell cameras that we got from somebody nearby in the area who was dealing with that. And so there we go. Now we're all the same color. So that was a situation that happened Sunday. People in the area who were nearby said they heard loud explosions. And it turns out they eventually connected the dots and said, hey, that fire at John Amos, that was the result of those explosions. They said it kind of sounded like loud poppings, loud booms in the area. We talked with several neighbors nearby. You can tell this on this doorbell camera, you can actually see what appears to be large smoke in the background. Look right past that line of houses on there, and you'll see it. So what comes next with this investigation? Well, Appalachian Power tells us they are going to launch a full-scale investigation into the cause and the extent of the damage is underway. They said they appreciate the response and the swift response of emergency crews, and they say they will provide additional updates as information becomes available. So the fire department says the fire was not connected to any power producing facility. So, Appalachian Power mentioned that this did not impact their operations or their ability to generate power for customers. But of course, we're going to be following up on that today as we look for kind of this really developing story. You don't hear about situations like this at a power plant too often. So that is one that we're going to be following up on as well. So that is a big story. And into our newsroom, I was going to see if we could get some video for you, but I don't think we have it yet. So we're going to talk about a crash in Jackson County first. we can tell you one person has died after they were hit by a car. This all happened on Friday night, just after 8 o'clock in the Wellston area of Ohio. That's in Jackson County. Ohio State Highway Patrol tell us that 76-year-old Terry Brennan was crossing the road when he was hit by a car on Friday night. And unfortunately, troopers say a second car also hit the victim, and that car pulled over to the side before continuing their drive. So now Ohio State Highway Patrol is looking for the people responsible in this investigation. They also tell us that Brennan, the victim in this situation, was taken to a hospital for treatment, but he later died there because of his injuries. So they are working now. Troopers are working to find out the person who was responsible for this, and because there was a second vehicle involved in this, that's also something that they are trying to figure out and try to piece together. So they are still pretty early on in that investigation. So we are working to get the details on that. But as for the other story that I kind of teased at the moment, and I was trying to see if we were able to get some video for that, but we don't have that yet into our newsroom. So I'm just going to pull up the camera so we can all talk about it. I do want to tell you, and I'm going to look at my notes, because we just got this in right before we met this morning to kind of talk about the stories at our newsroom, the big things that we're following today. So we can tell you a juvenile and an adult have been arrested in connection with the attempted murder of a man. So Portsmouth Police Department telling us this happened around Sunday night, about 7:30 or so. They say they were called after a victim was found in the rear of the 1800th block of Thomas Avenue behind an apartment building. So the victim taken to a nearby hospital for treatment center, and then because of the severity of their injuries, they actually were transported to a trauma center just outside of Scioto County. So police were able to detain 2 people in that incident, and they were able to recover a firearm. So we are still working to learn some details about this, but we can tell you, investigators telling us that Colton A. Harmon of West Portsmouth, Ohio, was charged with aggravated robbery and felonious assault. A juvenile was also charged with attempted murder in this case, as well as aggravated robbery, tampering with evidence, and felonious assault. So we are still working to get some details in this case in particular, but that was a story I want to make sure we brought to you this morning because we had just gotten word of it. So right now, the victim's condition is unknown at this time. We do know that they were transported from a hospital to a trauma center because of the severity of their injuries. So we are still following up on that story, and I expect us to have a little bit of more of an update here at noon before, we're able to kind of follow that. So, it's been a busy couple of days here at WSAZ. And of course, as we are following some big stories today, like I said, we do expect to have an update for you on that one in particular with the 2 people that are arrested in connection with a man's attempted murder. So that's another story that, again, we will have on our midday. But before I let you go this morning, I almost said this afternoon. Goodness gracious, haven't had enough coffee yet for this Monday. I do want to show you a beautiful sight here. So this is the weather camera, and you can tell absolutely gorgeous. Check out that sunshine. The Ohio River looking a little murky there, but near towards the bottom of that camera, you can actually see a little glimmer of the sunlight. Almost looks like a rainbow. We know it's not, but it certainly is nice to see. And because the weather has been so nice, an event over the weekend in Charleston has been fantastic. They had a great turnaround and turnout for the crowd at this. So the North Charleston Community Center stocked with fish over the weekend. You can tell, hey, you don't see too many fishermen at a pool necessarily, but they certainly had great weather for it. And if you're looking to get out and about this week, the earlier the better. You will have great weather for that too. So what this was over the weekend, it's called the Urban Fishing. And so the Charleston Parks and Recreation Department hosted the event. And really, it gave people a chance to get their fishing poles out, maybe get back into the practice of things. Certainly nice. So it really also gave families the opportunities to spend some time together. So people brought their own fishing gear, settled in for a relaxing afternoon, and of course, had to practice the patience. of waiting for something to bite. So if you were able to catch a fish, well, guess what? You got to take it home. So it was just like the lake. Certainly a really neat opportunity. You don't see things like this happen too often, but I think it's really cool to know that they were able to kind of turn that pool into something. That water obviously had to be cleaned, and it's not ready for pool season yet, but what a way to make the most of things, as that weather was certainly beautiful. A great idea. And I would love to see more communities do something like this. Or if you know about a community that does this, I always like to help people plan their weekends. So, if you're looking for something to do, let us know. If you know of a community that does really neat events for families outdoors. I always like to kind of give people an update, and it's hard sometimes because we're so busy. But if you do have a spare weekend, it's nice to make the most of it and take your family out somewhere. So send me a message. You can email me or send me a message on Facebook. That's a great way to get in touch with me about some different events that are happening over the next couple of days, because that warmer weather is starting to pick up, and hopefully we're going to keep it for a little bit. You heard Dylan mention this morning, we are going to have a little bit of a cool down, but it's still in the 50s at the end of the week. So I think it's just, we're going to have to get a little acclimated because we're out of practice with the 50s. I won't complain. Believe me, I love the 70s too. So we're going to hold on to them. Maybe you guys can take your lunch break, maybe get a walk outside today on it, or maybe hit the park with the kiddos after school. Certainly would be great. So those are a couple of the stories that we are following this morning. We appreciate you joining us here for a look at the morning headlines. And like I said, some of those stories that we are following this morning. Remember, the Home and Garden Show is coming up this weekend. So get your green thumb out if you're not a green thumb. Spring is always just a really good time to talk about some of those big projects that you may have at your house to get those all worked out. So we will have plenty of vendors. And we're actually going to be taking our news on the road this year, which is something special. The hours are a little bit different at the Home and Garden Show, so make sure you look at WSAZ.com for a look at those ahead of time. We tweaked them a little bit. Friday, I think in particular, is the one that's affected the most. So just keep an eye out for that as you plan your weekend, and we hope you'll see us there, and we hope you'll join us so we can help get all of those home and garden projects ready, help you plan. It's always a great time. If you are there, we usually have a table. I'll be there Friday afternoon. So come over, say hello. We'd love to see you, and we hope that you have a fantastic week. We certainly appreciate you joining us here. Have a great day.